I want to talk to you about the method that changed my winnings from 0 to 100%. This isn't just a technique, it's a profound shift in how you interact with reality. It's about aligning your mind and emotions to create a magnetic field that pulls your desires into your life. You see, when you truly understand the quantum model of reality, you realize that you have the power to influence your external environment by changing your internal state. When you're fully present, living in the moment, and you start to open your heart, you can sustain an elevated emotion. This emotional elevation is not just a fleeting feeling. It's a sustained state of being that broadens the magnetic field around your body. Imagine this field extending up to 9 meters wide. Now you are more energy than matter. You're more wave than particle, and this increased energy allows you to exert a greater influence on your reality. Think of it like this. When you open your heart, it's like dropping a pebble in water. You create ripples. If you drop a bigger stone, you create bigger ripples. Now, if you can maintain that elevated emotional state, it's like dropping the same rock over and over again. You broadcast a powerful, consistent signal into the quantum field. The emotion is the magnetic charge. Your intention, your thought, is the information carried on that wave. When you combine a clear intention with an elevated emotion, you start to produce tangible effects on matter. The thoughts you think generate an electrical charge in the quantum field. The feelings you emit create a magnetic charge. Together, your thoughts and feelings broadcast an electromagnetic signature that influences every atom in your life. Your thoughts send the signal out, and your feelings draw the event back to you. If you walk around feeling sorry for yourself, feeling like a victim, you're broadcasting that signature into the field, and you'll attract more experiences that make you feel like a victim. We are not punished for our sins, we are punished by our sins. Sin, in this context, is an attitude. It's how you think and how you feel. When you teach people to let go of guilt, shame, and unworthiness, and show them how to open their hearts, they begin to create coherent waves in their brain and heart. This coherence leads to miraculous changes, but it requires training, practice, and new information to reprogram the belief that we are limited. If you're living by the hormones of stress, you have no energy, no field, and you can't produce an effect on matter. Life, then, is about managing your energy. Where you place your attention is where you place your energy. If your attention is on the knowns and the predictable future, or on the familiar emotions of the past, you're draining energy from the present moment. Without energy in the present, you have no power to create. But when you practice being present, you start to harness your energy to create unknown and wonderful experiences in your life. It just takes practice. In our research, we found that when you reach a coherent level of brain activity in alpha waves, you can slip into theta waves. This shift brings about amazing changes. Your body relaxes deeply, and the energy centers in your body, especially the sympathetic nervous system, switch on. But instead of turning on like you're being chased by a tiger, they switch on in balance with the parasympathetic nervous system. This balance allows energy to flow up your central nervous system to your brain, opening what we call the thalamic gate, the reticular activating system. When this energy hits the brain stem, it switches on the neocortex, producing gamma brainwave patterns. These superconscious brainwaves signify that the inner world has become the real world. The experience is so profound that it rewrites your brain's programming. You move from 20 watts to 50 watts to 100 watts of energy, flooding your brain with new possibilities. In this state, your brain produces chemicals like melatonin, which transforms into powerful antioxidants and neurotransmitters. These chemicals have anti-aging, anti-cancer, anti-heart disease, and anti-neurodegenerative properties. When melatonin transforms, it creates phospholuminescent chemicals. These chemicals fill the neurons in the brain with energy. This increased energy makes the neurons glow with different colors and patterns. This glowing effect can be seen during mystical experiences, such as deep meditation or moments of profound insight. This state of transformation is incredibly powerful. It goes beyond our everyday experience and changes our consciousness. When you enter this state, your inner world becomes more vivid and real than the outer world around you. It's like stepping into a new dimension of reality. In this new state, you experience a shift from what we call space-time to what we call time-space. Space-time is the way we usually perceive the world, where events happen in a sequence and we move through time and space. Time-space, on the other hand, is a more abstract and profound way of experiencing reality. It's where time and space seem to blend together and where you can access deeper layers of consciousness. This shift is where real transformation happens. It's not just about feeling different, it's about fundamentally changing how you experience and understand reality. In this state, you might feel connected to something greater than yourself or gain new insights that you didn't have before. The boundaries between your inner self and the outer world seem to dissolve, and you start to see things from a different perspective. The phospholuminescent chemicals that are produced when melatonin transforms play a crucial role in this process. They help increase the energy in your neurons, which leads to the glowing effects you see during these experiences. This increase in energy is what allows you to access these deeper states of consciousness. As the neurons glow and light up, they create complex patterns and colors. These visuals are not just random. They are a reflection of the intense activity and transformation happening in your brain. The experience can be mesmerizing and enlightening, showing you new dimensions of reality that are usually hidden. When you are in this state, your perception of reality changes dramatically. The usual way you experience time and space is replaced by a more fluid and interconnected understanding. This shift allows you to tap into higher levels of awareness and gain a deeper understanding of yourself and the universe. But how do you get to this point? It takes consistent practice and pushing past your limits. During advanced workshops, we encourage participants to go beyond the point of wanting to give up during meditation. Early morning is an ideal time for this practice, as neurotransmitters are in a perfect balance between melatonin and serotonin. When you sit up for an extended period and then lay down, you can trigger the light show in your brain. These experiences are so profound that you need to refer back to quantum physics to understand what's happening. Without taking any drugs, your brain becomes a pharmacy, producing chemicals that trigger these intense experiences. It feels like being plugged into a light socket, with every cell in your body turning on. This energetic signature is associated with love and a heightened state of consciousness. Now let's talk about how this method changed my winnings from 0 to 100%. The first step was understanding the power of the present moment. I learned to live fully in the now, letting go of past regrets and future anxieties. This focus on the present allowed me to harness my energy effectively. By practicing gratitude and elevating my emotions, I broadened my magnetic field. This emotional elevation wasn't just a temporary high, it was a sustained state of being. I combined this emotional state with a clear intention. I knew exactly what I wanted to achieve. My thoughts sent the signal out, and my elevated emotions drew the experiences back to me. This combination of thought and emotion created a powerful electromagnetic signature that influenced my reality. I also worked on letting go of negative emotions like guilt, shame, and unworthiness. These emotions had been holding me back, creating incoherent waves in my brain and heart. By releasing these negative emotions and replacing them with love and gratitude, I created coherent waves that aligned my brain and heart. This coherence allowed me to tap into the quantum field more effectively, producing miraculous changes in my life. Managing my energy became a crucial part of this method. I learned to place my attention on the present moment, avoiding distractions from the past or future. This focus allowed me to harness my energy for creation. I practiced this consistently, pushing past my limits during meditation. This practice helped me slip into deeper states of consciousness, where real transformation happens. First, I realized that managing my energy was essential. Every day we are bombarded with thoughts and emotions that pull us in different directions. These distractions drain our energy and make it difficult to focus on what truly matters. I decided to take control of my energy and direct it towards positive and constructive goals. To do this, I had to learn how to stay present. The present moment is powerful. It is the only time when we can truly create and make changes. When we dwell on the past, we often get caught up in regrets, mistakes, and things we cannot change. Similarly, worrying about the future fills us with anxiety and fear of the unknown. Both of these mental states waste our energy and keep us from being effective in the here and now. So I started to practice mindfulness and meditation to help me stay focused on the present moment. I set aside time each day to sit quietly, close my eyes, and bring my attention to my breath. Breathing deeply and slowly, I would feel the air entering and leaving my body. This simple practice helped me ground myself in the present. Whenever my mind wandered to past events or future worries, I gently brought my focus back to my breath. By consistently practicing this, I became better at avoiding distractions. I noticed that I was no longer as easily swayed by negative thoughts or emotions. Instead, I felt calmer and more centered. This calmness allowed me to use my energy more effectively. Harnessing my energy for creation meant that I could direct it towards my goals and dreams. I visualized what I wanted to achieve and focused my energy on those visions. By doing this, I began to see real changes in my life. My goals became clearer, and I felt more motivated to take action towards them. However, this wasn't something that happened overnight. It required consistent practice and dedication. Every day, I made it a point to meditate and focus on the present moment. I pushed myself to go deeper in my practice, even when it felt challenging. There were times when I felt like giving up, especially during meditation. Sitting still and quiet for extended periods can be uncomfortable and difficult. My mind would sometimes resist, bringing up thoughts and distractions. But I learned to push past these limits. I reminded myself that growth and transformation happen outside of our comfort zones. By staying committed and pushing through the discomfort, I was able to access deeper states of consciousness. In these deeper states, my brain produced gamma brainwave patterns, indicating a superconscious state. My brain also produced chemicals like melatonin, which transformed into powerful antioxidants and neurotransmitters. These chemicals enhanced my overall health and well-being, further boosting my ability to create my desired reality. The combination of a clear intention, elevated emotions, and consistent practice changed my winnings from 0 to 100%. I learned to align my mind and emotions with my desires, creating a powerful electromagnetic signature that influenced my reality. This method is not just about winning in the conventional sense, but about transforming your entire life. When you align your mind and emotions, you create a reality that reflects your true desires. This method requires dedication and practice, but the results are worth it. By living in the present moment, elevating your emotions, and focusing your energy, you can create a reality that reflects your deepest desires. You have the power to influence your external environment by changing your internal state. The key is to combine a clear intention with elevated emotions and practice consistently. The method that changed my winnings from 0 to 100% involves living in the present moment, elevating your emotions, managing your energy, and practicing consistently. By aligning your mind and emotions with your desires, you create a powerful electromagnetic signature that influences your reality. This method is not just about winning in the conventional sense, but about transforming your entire life. When you align your mind and emotions, you create a reality that reflects your true desires. As a result of this wake-up call, this is a perfect opportunity for people to be in a retreat, but instead of being in some tent or some hut in the Himalayas or being, in some hotel, you're in the comfort of your own home. And it's true, you break from routine and you're not going to the same place and seeing the same people and doing the same thing. And that causes you to step outside of familiar territory. So then when we practice the inward work, when we practice meditation as an example, and you have the ability to take a moment and be present and truly open your heart, our research shows that you are going to actually create a state of information that's no longer coming from your outer world, that there's danger in there. But when you start falling into the present moment and opening your heart, your immune system in 4 days can strengthen by 50%. Now, I know most people will say, I don't really want to do it now. It's just too hard. No. This is the time. This is the time that we've been practicing for. This is the time where it matters the most. These are the tools that we've learned. So what information then is your body receiving? Is it receiving danger in the outer world or in a meditation? It could feel safe enough that it can move into the present moment. Going from the old self to the new self is the neurological, is the biological, is the chemical, the hormonal genetic death of the old self. People who say to me, I'm in the river of change, I'm in the unknown, I'm in this void, I can't predict my future, I always say the same thing to them. The best way to predict your future is to create it. Not from the known, but from the unknown. What thoughts do you want to fire and wire in your brain? You can't wait for your wealth to feel abundance. You can't wait for your success to feel empowered. You can't wait for the mystical moment to feel awe. You can't wait for your new relationship to feel love or your new job to feel gratitude. It's the old model of reality, of cause and effect, waiting for something outside of you to change how you feel inside of you. When you feel differently inside of you, you pay attention to whoever or whatever caused that. And that event, in and of itself, is called a memory, to wait for our environment to give us relief. The quantum model of reality is about causing and effect, which means when you feel whole, you begin to heal. When you feel empowered, you're going to be successful. When you're worthy enough, you'll feel abundant. When you are in love with life and in love with yourself, you will find an equal, or it will find you. And when you are in awe of the moment, the mystical is going to bless you in a way that you never anticipated. And when you are in a state of gratitude, your job is on the way. It's causing an effect. And by the way, what is the emotional signature of gratitude? Don't you give thanks when you get something or you receive something? So then, what if you were to begin to give thanks or feel thanks before it manifested? Would your body, as the unconscious mind, believe it's in the future experience in the present moment? Because gratitude is the ultimate state of receivership. And so we don't pray in our work to have our prayers answered. We get up as if our prayers are already answered. It is that state of mind and body that I know that requires a clear intention and an elevated emotion. And the clear intention is an act of the mind and the brain. And an elevated emotion is when you open your heart. When you combine those two elements, you just moved from living in your past to living in your future. So then, here's the question. Can you believe in a future that you can't see or experience with your senses yet, but you've thought about enough times in your mind that your brain is literally changed to look like the experience has already occurred? Can you fall in love with a future potential that already exists in the quantum field? And how many potentials exist in the quantum field? Infinite potentials in the quantum field. Can you select a new potential in the quantum field and emotionally embrace that future reality before it's made manifest to such degree that your body, as the unconscious mind, is believing it's living in that future reality in the present moment, and you're signaling new genes and new ways? If there's physical evidence in your brain and body to look like the experience has already happened, there's evidence there physically. By thought alone, relax. Because the experience is going to find you. There's an intelligence that's giving you life right now. It's keeping your heart beating and digesting your food and organizing trillions of functions in every single cell of your body. It's organizing mutations in your DNA. There's some invisible force that's giving you life, but that same intelligence that's keeping your heart beating and digesting your food is the same intelligence that's creating supernovas in distant galaxies and causing flowers to bloom. It's both personal and universal. It's within you, and it's all around you, and you can't see it, and you can't smell it, and you can't taste it, and you can't feel it, but it is the giver of life, and it is a consciousness. And consciousness is awareness, and awareness is paying attention, and it is the observer observing you into life. And you know, when I tell our advanced students, either you're going to be defined by a vision of the future or the memories of the past. And then people say, why are you so bitter? Why are you so frustrated? Why are you suffering so much? And your brain, in that emotion, you're in the emotion, which means you're in the chemical residue of the past, is going to call up the event because you're emotionally connected to it, and you're going to say, I'm this way because of that past experience. So then, imagine what I do with people. We have people that have been abused. We have people that have been traumatized, that have been assaulted. We have people that have had very, very difficult pasts. And have you ever heard me say to revisit the event? Have you ever heard me say that? Never do we need to revisit the event, because once you do, you open the box. But what we want to do is overcome the emotion, because that's just what's lasting from the event. So you sit a person down, and the moment you sit them down, what do you think the body is going to do? It's going to look for something to recreate that emotion, because that's the person's identity. Are you with me still? So if I inspire the person to sit there, and they're sitting there, and all of a sudden they're noticing that they're hot and they're irritated and their stomach is twisting, and all of a sudden it's a group of sensations, a group of feelings that they have called all along frustration. But the different sensations, the moment you name it, it becomes an emotion. But what it is just bodily sensations. It's energy that's stuck in the body. So the body is looking to go back to the past. It's believing it's in the past. Are you with me still? So if the person becomes aware that their body is doing that, and like training an animal, allow the body to feel that emotion and then settle it down into the present moment. When you settle it down into the present moment, the body starts to trust the present moment and move out of the past. And there's a release of energy. Then the body goes, wait a second, what's going to happen in the next moment? And it starts doing that. And it starts to try anticipate the future. And you settle the body back down into the present moment. And every time you do that, you're telling the body it's no longer the mind, that you're the mind. And your will is getting greater than the program. And all of a sudden, you start to lower the volume to that emotion. And when you begin to break the addiction to that emotion, the side effect of breaking that addiction is called joy. It's called freedom. All of a sudden, the body's saying, I don't want to be tormented anymore. Now, does that mean you shouldn't grieve over things that you lose? Grieving is a biological process. It's neural pruning. It's a death of circuitry. It's a death of emotions. It's the absence of void of something in your life. And that's important. In grief, sooner or later, you've got to come to a greater understanding about death, a greater understanding about loss, a greater understanding so that you can adapt to those conditions. Every time I sit with someone and they start complaining about their life, and I let them go for a few minutes, and then I go, oh. You know what I say to them? You only complain about your life when it's not working. And the emotion that you're feeling right now is keeping you connected to the past. You never do this when your life is working. And so I don't have a problem with moving through the stages of emotions. But I also know that what a person really wants, more than anything else, is to be free. People want to be free. And I have witnessed transformation on every culture, on every skin color, Every shape, every size, every age, I've witnessed it. If there's physical evidence in your brain and body to look like the event has already occurred, your brain and body are no longer living in the past, they're living in the future, and you will walk right into your vision, something new you wanted to experience. And the moment you started thinking about this experience, the moment you started contemplating this potential reality, you turned on a part of your brain called the frontal lobe, the crowning achievement of the human being. It's 40% of your entire brain. It is the creative center, and it has connections to all other parts of the brain. And the moment you said, what would it be like to be a leader? What would it be like to be successful? What would it be like to have this vision come true? The moment you asked that open-ended question, you turned on this part of the brain, because the rest of the brain is just a bunch of automatic programs. And now the frontal lobe, the creative center, wakes up, and it has connections to the entire brain. It's the CEO, it's the boss, it's the symphony leader of the brain. And the moment you get creative, the frontal lobe begins to select different networks of neurons that are stored in your brain from things you've learned or experienced. And as you begin to think a what-if question, it begins to select these different networks and begins to seamlessly piece them together and making your brain fire in new sequences and in new patterns and new combinations. And whenever you make your brain work differently, you're changing your mind, because mind is the brain in action. Mind is the brain at work. And the moment those neurons fire in tandem, you get a picture in your mind, a hologram, a vision. For those people who are passionate, that thought that they're thinking begins to create an elevated emotion. They become inspired. They feel enthusiastic. They become passionate. They started to open their hearts. And all of a sudden, they're combining a clear intention with an elevated emotion. And it's the combination of a clear intention and an elevated emotion in our research over and over again that proves then the person now is changing fundamentally, changing biologically, changing internally, and their brain and body are moving from living in the past into living in the future. When you do that, when you had that moment, you came out of your resting state, and then you started to write down all the things you were going to do to get to that vision, all the choices you were going to make, all of the experiences or goals you wanted to achieve, and all of the emotions and the joy you would feel. And when you were doing that, you were setting your sights towards that destiny. And then you did something really brilliant. You wrote down the choices you weren't going to make. You became aware of the behaviors you weren't going to demonstrate. You began to review certain experiences you wanted to stay away from. And then you looked at the emotions that would bring you to a lower level, and you began to separate the old self from the new self. And when you begin to do that and you're observing the old self, it means you're no longer the program. Now you're the consciousness observing the program. And that's when you begin to objectify your subjective self. And so the moment you stop making the same choices that you always make, get ready, because it's going to be uncomfortable. And that's the moment you're heading towards the new self. Do you think that you can change the circuits in your brain by thinking about it? So I did this experiment a little ways back. It took these people who never played the piano before, and they separated them into 4 categories, and they said, listen, we're going to scan your brains before you learn this exercise, and then we're going to scan your brain after, and all you have to do is show up for 2 hours a day in practice for 2 weeks. Okay? And just follow the instructions, and we're going to hook your brain up to these sophisticated scans, and we're going to see what happens before and after. So they got with these people, and they said, okay, first group, here's the scales and here's the chords. They're one-handed exercises. Practice them over and over again. Keep playing them. So they played every single day, 2 hours a day for 2 weeks. They scanned their brains before, they scanned their brains after. After 2 weeks, guess what happened? Whole new set of circuits lit up in their brain that never lit up before. That makes sense. You learned something new. Learning is making new connections. Repeating it over and over again is sustaining or maintaining those connections, and that's called memory. So they memorized what they were doing by physically practicing or personalizing what they learned. Make sense? Yes. Standard, simple. It took the second group of people and they said, listen, we want you to play 2 hours a day for 2 weeks. We're going to scan your brain before and after. You know what we're going to do? We're not going to tell you how to play anything. You just come and do whatever you want. Play whatever you want. So at the end of 2 weeks, guess what happened to them? Nothing. You know why? Because they couldn't remember what they had learned the day before. And they couldn't remember what they played the day before, and they had no structure. They got no instruction and no knowledge to be able to apply it to make some steady circuits. It took the third group of people and they said, listen, don't even show up. Don't even create your day. Same thing, nothing happens. The last group of people, they said, listen, we want you to come 2 hours a day for 2 weeks. We're going to show you these one-handed exercises. But instead of you physically playing the piano, we want you to mentally rehearse over and over again those exercises. We know you're going to get tired, so we'll nudge you and we'll keep you awake. But you practice for 2 hours a day and you keep repeating those. The end of 2 weeks, they re-scanned their brain, and guess what happened? Same area of the brain lit up as if they were actually playing the scales.